I have made some bad mistakes in my time, but that's the breaks, and I'll bet I've had way more fun than you.
Hello there, welcome back to another edition of Kip Does Stuff. Today I've been thinking about doing something for a long time, and I thought too much work and I'd probably never use it, but after looking through a couple old videos someone else made, I thought, you know what, I'm actually going to do it today. What it is I'm going to build an overhead camera boom. The idea was inspired by John Hines. I Build It is his YouTube channel. He's got 4 channels. I Build It Red, I Build It Blue, the Scrap Bin, and his home renovation channel. He also has a website, ibuildit.ca, where he's got detailed plans and articles about everything he does. Be sure to stop by and take a look at that. But I'm going to pretty much steal his idea completely, because why should I make the wheel over again? It's been invented. Use his idea. So let's get started. Okay, my shop is pretty small, and as you can see, it's very cluttered, and I don't have a lot of space on the floor I can use so that I can set my tripod up and not run into something. So having it hang from the ceiling would be really good. I could use my workbench, my grinder, drill press, all my hand tools, radial arm saw, and my table saw. Okay, overhead I've got a ceiling rafter, not a joist. This is an old garage and only has rafters. They're not really supported well. And that's what I'm going to mount the camera gantry, I should guess we call it, onto. And it's not really centralized in my shop, but it's the most centered of any place I could put it. So let's see what we're going to build with. Okay, in front of the bench I've got a couple pieces of plywood, some solid boards, a couple planks, and on the workbench itself I've got a couple other pieces of scrap, and everything's going to be built out of scrap today except for a couple of bolts. They are new, but they're salvaged from other projects. So let's start with cutting a few things up on the table saw. Okay, we're starting on the table saw here. We're going to cut out 2 pieces that are 8 inches by 8 inches. Okay, our next cut will be 6 inches by 6 inches. Okay, our next cut will be cutting these 2 pieces of scrap off. They were raised panels for a headboard, and I just want the flat spot on the side here, so I'm going to set the saw to about 1/2 to 3/4 of an inch. Okay, I've reset the fence and the blade height, and I've installed my zero clearance throat plate so that now I can shave off this raised part and use these as flat panels. Okay, I almost forgot I need 4 knobs, so I'll cut them out of this 3/4 inch piece of pine. Okay, before I get much further, I want to do some gluing and epoxy. I want to countersink nuts into this knob here, and I got 4 of them to do. Okay, now that I've got the countersink done, I'm going to go ahead and complete with the through hole with a 5/16 thick. Okay, now that I've got all the handles or knobs pre-drilled, 3 for 3 through holes so they can accept the nuts and the bolts that they hook to can go through in case they have to, and 1 for the bolt. They'll just sit in there like that. So I want to make sure they don't come back out, so I'm just going to use some 2-part epoxy and glue them in place. Okay, we also need to glue the upper arm together, so let's get that going. So let's glue on each end, and then we'll put these little spacers I cut, about 1/4 to 3/8 of an inch wide. Okay, now we can just leave it laying here until they dry and get on to other things. Okay, next we'll begin on cutting things to length. This first part gets cut to 14 inches. This is cut at 8 inches. We need 2 pieces out of this cut at 5 1/4 each. And these 2 pieces here will be cut at 16 inches. I'll cut them together. Okay, back over to the table saw. I want to square this piece up as best I can, about 1 1/4 inches. This will be the piece that hangs down and everything is bolted onto, plus a little bit for the camera arm. Okay, this piece here will be what the camera sits on, and it's not quite flat on both sides, not quite the same thickness, so I'm going to run it through the saw a few times and try to get it nice and flat and square to itself. Okay, back over the radial arm saw, we'll make one final cut at 10 7/8. Okay, the first thing I need to do is drill out a 2 1/4 inch hole in the center of this piece of plywood. Okay, next, in the 6x6 piece of plywood, we'll drill a 1 3/4 inch hole. Okay, next we're going to drill 2 1/4-inch holes, one in each end of these 2 pieces that are clamped together. Okay, now the piece that's going to come down from the ceiling and hold the camera arm needs a 1/4-inch hole. Okay, I have a spacer between the upper camera arm, needs a 1/4-inch hole. Now the piece that's going to hold the camera needs a 1/4-inch hole through. Okay, and now the part that's going to hold the camera itself needs a 1/4-inch hole through and a 5/16 countersink. Okay, so now we got the hole drilled here. We'll go ahead and put it in here as a spacer / support. So let's get some glue on here. Clamp it together. There we go. Now we can just set it aside to dry. Okay, to assemble the holder, it's pretty simple. We'll just put a little grease on the back of this and here. This piece will be screwed into here. This goes over this and holds it in place, pretty much. This will come down and then hold that together and allow this to rotate. So let's get everything drilled out and assembled. I've done the unthinkable and charged up 2 drills for this process, so let's get started. Okay, here it is hanging from the ceiling joist, and it's tightened up quite a bit when I put these 4 screws in to hold these plates in. So now I'll just screw it in place here with an 1.25-inch bolt, one on each side. That's pretty darn tight. Hardly any wobble at all. More wobble in the joist than there is in the little arm hanging down. Okay, here we are the next day. Everything has been dried overnight. The knobs are all finished. Had to do a little bit of adjusting to make them nice and square, but they're okay. I tried to cut the edges off, or the corners off, but I really screwed them up because they weren't quite square. But it doesn't matter. They'll still work for what I need. So let's start out by putting the camera mount on. It just goes through here. And I use this lock nut just to keep it from falling back inside the hole here. Okay, next is to install this. So let's slide the bolt through. I did have to re-drill this part. It wasn't square, so did it the second time. Okay, we'll go ahead and put a washer on there just for the fun of it. And tighten down the knob. And that is this long arm here that goes into this section. Got another bolt. Another washer, just for safety. Ha ha ha. Got it backwards. That one goes on pretty good. But we'll still give it a little twist with the wrench. Okay, so that seems okay. As it's tightened up, it should hold in place. Now all we need to do is attach it to our upright. Okay, one piece I didn't show being made was this little U-bracket that goes on the side of this track, just for a little support. John had it in his, so I decided why not. I'll go ahead and make it for this one. So, let's get the bolt slid in here. There we go. Turn around so you can see what we're doing. Go ahead, slide on a washer. And then add our knob. Okay, I actually had to stop the camera, get down, and I trimmed the knob slightly on the table saw and used a chisel to make it thinner so it make it fit just a wee bit better here. It was way too tight and I couldn't adjust anything. So that should make it a little more usable. Let's turn it around the right direction now and see. We can adjust it in and out. Yep. Shit, it's broken. Okay, here is the gantry, and I discovered that what I built here is garbage. So I threw it away, and I built a whole other one. This one's much better than the one I started with. This one is built out of 1/2 inch solid wood here, 3/8 inch wood here. It's 1 5/16 wide, much thicker and much more beefy. I went up to much larger handles, from 1/4 inch hardware to 5/16 hardware. I should have went to 3/8 hardware, but I just didn't have any money on me when I went and bought all the parts. So I instead went with 3 or 5/16. The only problem I'm having is this one up here is having a little trouble staying tight enough for me, but I'm sure after I let all the epoxy dry long enough, I've only let it dry for maybe 8 hours. I want to give it a good 24-hour set before I really wrench down on it and keep it tight. But I have to say, this is 10 times better than the one I built yesterday. Okay, so I really enjoyed making this, especially the second time, making it right. It felt better knowing that it was going to work the second time. So there's the gantry. Thanks John Hines for your idea. Don't forget to stop by his website and his YouTube channel and say hi to him. And thanks for watching.